So in this next line, we have variable get, but this variable get is different than the ones that we've been dealing with so far. Up until this point, variable get has been pulling state values, so we've been able to replace it out with Drupal state in order to save and gather from the state API. In this situation, however, we're dealing with configuration, which is different, and it's going to be stored differently in Drupal. We can see an example for this if we look at where this current toolkit comes from, and we just removed the line for that because it looked like we didn't need it. But if we look at the original form, here's image toolkit form here, this is the line that we're looking for. So it's getting the value by saying this config, and then system.image, and then get toolkit. So let's copy this, and we'll put it back in our form. I'm going to paste it in. So the question really is, where does system image come from? How do we decide where we're going to get our value from? And what does this toolkit come from? Well, to find the answer, what we're going to do is copy system image, and we're going to search the file names across our entire Drupal installation. And you see this systemimage.yml here. And if we open it up, you see toolkit, and the value of toolkit is GD. So this is a set of key value pairs. And if we go back to our form, basically what we're saying here is that we're looking for this batch of configuration. And initially it's going to be found in this YAML file, but as soon as a module is installed, that value gets pulled into the database, and then it can usually be manipulated through some form of user interface, in this case the settings form for the image toolkit. And then once we have this group of configuration, we want to get a specific piece of configuration, and that's what this part is here. We want to get the value of toolkit that's inside of the system image configuration group. So it looks like we need to do a couple of things here. So first of all, we need to create a YAML file that includes the default for Trails block max. And then we need to pull in the value by using this line here, this config, and then we're going to pull from this particular group and grab our Trails block max from there. So let's do this first step. We'll go to system image YML, and let's look where this is located. So this is in the install directory, inside of the config directory, inside of the system module. So we're going to create a config folder and an install folder in order to put a copy of this system.image.yml file. So I'm going to find this file in the folder by using a keyboard shortcut in PHP Storm. And I will copy this. Then I'm going to go back to our module, and then I'm going to create a folder called config. And then inside of this, we'll create another folder called install. And we'll open that up and paste in our configuration. Okay, let's rename this. So the way this is structured is we have the name of the module, and then the name of the subgroup of configuration. We can really name this anything we want, and then .yaml. So we're going to start this out with Trails, and then we'll call it settings YML. And let's open this up in the editor. And instead of toolkit, we'll call this max in settings. And we'll set this to 20 as a default value. I'll go ahead and save this. And then back in our form, what we need to do is update this here. So we can keep this and config. We're going to change this to trails.settings because that's the group. And the group is really defined by the name of the YAML file. And then we're going to get the max in settings value. Okay, and then we'll copy this entire bit here and set it for the default value down here. And now we can remove this current toolkit bit. Let's save it. And finally, let's check out these two. We have description, and we're using T again. So let's copy this T and paste it down here. And then we have required true. So everything else pretty much looks in line, as far as we can tell right now, with the way the Form API works in Drupal 8. So I'm going to remove this original input,